Hey, good morning and welcome back to another video. So in this one, we're going to be mounting the turbos onto the engine. Again, reminder, this is a VG30 DETT twin turbo motor for the 300ZX. Show you the turbos real quick. These are Garrett GT 535R, the ball bearing version. So they got a nice little spin to them, pretty smooth. And the reason why I picked these two turbos is because these were as close to the factory size as you could get. That still makes some decent horsepower. So I don't anticipate a whole lot of work in getting these to fit. I think Z1 says that they'll make about 500 horsepower, so that's good. This car being a 2+2, we want to make sure it's got a little bit extra oomph, so it's pretty quick. But I did kind of test fit these already, and there is some clearancing issues that we're gonna have to do with the motor mounts. We're gonna have to shave a little bit off the motor mounts and shave a little bit probably off the heat shields, but more on that later. So I've got some of my piping ready. I've got these pipes ready. These are all kind of banged up. Some I've actually already ordered some used ones off of eBay to replace these, but just want to have these so that way I can test fit and make sure that they're going to clear. And then the other hardware that comes with the kit is you get pretty much everything you need to put this thing on and have all new seals and gaskets, some bolts, and then you also are going to get these oil cooling lines and these water cooling lines. So the oil feed is you're gonna use these stainless steel braided lines, which is pretty nice. And then for the oil drain is gonna use these two formed hoses right here, silicone hoses. Looks like there might be like AAA or something, pretty nice. And then you're also gonna have the bigger one is gonna be for your water going to the turbo, and then your water leaving the turbo. And then a little bit smaller one, I'm assuming, is gonna be for wastegates. So they give you all you need for that. On top of that, I've also got some of this heat shielding I'm going to use to try to protect these lines going to and from. I'll probably use a lot of this. Whichever one seems to work the best, and also maybe use some of this. And then we also have these turbo blankets. I think I mentioned them in a previous video. Not sure how these are going to fit. If I can't get them to fit, you know, super good, I might end up going without them. We'll see. But this is what they look like, and they're basically just going to wrap around the hot side of the turbo. You know, since we're not utilizing those factory heat shields, it'd be nice to have something to keep all that heat from soaking into the cold side of the turbo. So real quick, down and dirty, for those of you who don't really know what a turbo does or why it's important, real quick, and there's a ton of videos of this online, so I'm not going to get too crazy into detail, but at the end of the day, what a motor needs to make more power is either more spark, more fuel, or more air, and this turbo is going to give you more air, right? So if you look, you'll see a fan on this side. You look, you see a fan on that side. You got a hot side, you got a cold side. Those two fans are spinning on a common shaft. Basically what happens is, as your exhaust blows out of your motor, it's going to spin this side, which in turn is going to spin the fan on the cold side and compress air, shoving it into your intake, giving you more air. Now, you can't just throw this on. Just like I said, you need more spark and more fuel, so you've also got to upgrade those things whenever you add a turbo. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this build. So that's the down and dirty of it. Hopefully that illuminates some stuff for people who are not like super into cars and know how that works, but that's basically the gist of it. And yeah, here we go. All right, so in the time lapse that you just saw, I did test fit the turbos to see what do I need to shave off, what do I need to fix in order to get these things to fit on here. One of the techniques I tried was moving the turbo manifold, and that's the manifold between the block and the turbo, to see if it'd get me a little bit more room. That didn't work. These are AMS version 2 manifolds, and the flanges are pretty big, and so they end up running into the mounting spots just ahead of them. On the right side, it's going to be for your power steering mount, and on your left side, it's going to be your AC bracket, your AC compressor mount. So I couldn't move them forward or up, and even when I did, it did not give me like it didn't keep me from having to modify anything else to get this to fit. So decided that wasn't worth it, and I'll show you in the spots that have to be fixed. So for example, right here, the wastegate nipple, it's gonna, once you put the hose on there, it's gonna be kind of touching right here. So I'm gonna take just a little bit out. I'm gonna take like a flapper wheel or a grinder and kind of just make a little notch, make it nice and smooth, so that way once we plug that on there, it's not hitting. Additionally, this oil block that goes right here, it's not fitting, so I tried putting it on first, turning it up and down, and then throwing the turbo on. Didn't fit. I tried putting the turbo on and then try to fit it in afterwards. It didn't fit. So all I'm going to do is grind off some of these edges, make it a little bit smaller profile, so maybe I'll be able to thread it in there or get it to fit. Worst case scenario, I think I could probably pick up one of these. This came with the kit, but this is actually for if you need to angle the oil pressure sensor and it doesn't have the right threads to match this one. So I'll try grinding this first. If that doesn't work, then I'll try just getting me a little 90-degree elbow, or maybe I'll hit up Z1 and see what am I doing wrong. And then when it comes to putting these on, again, this is where the intake, you know, would be routed. The fresh air would be coming into the turbo. You can get it really close, but then it's just kind of hitting the exhaust shield right there. So I've seen some other people actually not run the exhaust shield, but what I did was I just marked a little spot, and what I'll do is I'll probably take it with a hammer it in, and if that hammer in that spot in doesn't work, then I'll probably just cut it out, see if that, maybe I'll bring this cut line all the way down or something like that. I did also, this is not on camera, I did it yesterday, I did have to clearance right here a little bit on this shield, just cut. I think there was like actually a hole right here where it bolted onto the factory exhaust manifold. So just completely shave that off, and you can actually see when you're looking at these turbos where they clearanced or shaved down a little bit on the top of here. So yeah, I cut that off, and then so I think that's everything for this side. Yep, it's a lot of work to get these turbos to fit. It's everything for this side. On the other side, all right, so on the left side, the problem that you run into in getting these to fit is once you put this pipe, this intake pipe on here, it will not go flush because of motor mount. It's hitting the motor mount right there at the very bottom. So I've already made a mark. That's about where I need to clearance it at, and then I put how low I'm going to bring it down. Kind of worried about the structural integrity of the motor mount, but I think, you know, just shaving this little bit shouldn't be too bad. So and again, tried to get more room by sliding this manifold up, but that did not work because then I would be blocking this hole and not able to get the AC compressor bracket on there. So I think even with the position it's in now, which it's as far down and as back as I could get it, I'm going to end up having to probably modify that bracket just a little bit. So I'm going to go take these, I'll take the motor mounts off and the heat shield off, take them outside, cut them, smooth them out, and then we'll bring them back and see how they fit. All right, just to show you a few of the things that I ended up trimming or clearancing. Haven't test fit it yet, but I'll let you know how it turns out. But a couple of things that I ended up shaving off was right here on the motor mount. There was a little bit of a bigger lip right here. I just kind of took out, I would say like maybe like 4 or 5 millimeters right there. So I don't think it's a huge structural piece, and I don't think it's going to compromise the structural integrity of this piece at all. Over here, so right here, you could kind of see this circle that I just hammered out. And I did test fit this. You know, if you knock out that much, you'll have plenty of clearance. I think there's like 3 or 4 millimeters in between this and the black intake pipe. So we're good there. This is what I end up shaving off of here. I do think that this thing is steel. So I'll probably end up having to paint that. Yeah, it looks like it is steel. I was hoping it was going to be copper. So obviously I'll have to throw some paint on there to protect that from rusting, but I think that, you know, that should be enough. I'll give it a test. Might have to take a little bit more off that back end right here. And I could probably take like another millimeter or 2 out of this, the top end right here. So we'll see if this works. So did those two. I still have to notch the motor mount. Still got to notch this right here. This little spot right here. So I'll go ahead and knock that out next. And then I also ended up shaving a little bit off the top of the turbo. So from Z1, they did already shave some off, but when I took the heat shed off, I noticed it was like actually touching. So hopefully that'll be enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test fit everything, and then I will shave some more stuff if I need to and let you know the results. All right, so I ended up having to call Z1 Motorsports to figure some things out with the turbos and the lines, but I think I've got it sorted for now. So essentially, one of the things that I want to point out is that that block that goes right here, you actually don't run that block. So I did all that, spent all that time shaving that thing down for no reason. They include this in the kit, and I didn't see it because it was actually attached to the line. So yeah, it's in the kit. You know, I looked at this hardware and didn't notice that there was some hardware on here also. So don't need to do that. Just use this little elbow. It fits perfectly. It works good. On this side, I did clearance this little bit right here, and I just kind of shaved like not even a millimeter off of this here. The reason for this was when you stick the turbo on here, the wastegate actuators are kind of hitting a little bit. And that's one of the other things that Z1 talked to me about. Was they basically said that you need to test your wastegate actuators. You need to basically disassemble them to get the turbos on, and I'll show you. All right, so here's your wastegate actuator arm, and basically it's going to end up being right here on this side, like literally right here on this side. So I clearanced that a little bit to make sure that it could move back and forth and it wasn't rubbing against that, and that wasn't stopping it from opening and closing, because this is what controls your wastegate and opens up the little door that's back here. So that way the turbo stops building pressure. So definitely want that to work. I end up having to kind of push this like kind of down so that way it was closer to the body of the turbo. And then when I installed it, I had to pop the clip off to get this to work around some of that stuff. And then essentially what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to pay attention in the order that you install this, and when you put the turbos on, you're gonna have to take this off. Some of you may be able to get it on there with leaving it still attached, but basically take it off and then adjust this and test it. So I'm gonna test my wastegates. Joel at Z1 told me it's, I think he said 14 pounds is what I wrote down, 14 pounds. He said you should just be able to barely spin the washer when you apply 14 pounds to this nipple right here. So I'm going to install them and I'm going to test them. Real quick, I showed you what I modified. So like I said, I modified this, modified that. Looking on this side, this is you can see the portion that I shaved down right here on the motor mount. And I just shaved off a little bit here, and you really can't see it because I put black paint on there, but this has to do with my exhaust shields that I'm using, or really heat blankets that I'm using. So I'm using these heat blankets, and right here the turbo is like maybe a millimeter away from this, so I just gave it like another millimeter or two, so that way it could sit flush on here. So I think I've got it sorted. I'm going to go ahead and install the this side turbo. I have the part I've been waiting on to permanently install this. I think tomorrow, so I'll probably do the install of both turbos. You'll see that time lapse. I've gotten these hoses out. Now these go on the back of the motor, and I think that this is where the coolant line ends up running to. So that way I can measure out how much coolant line to run to those. So I'll keep you posted, let you know how it works out. Okay, so I didn't record everything. I got some of the stuff, and real quick, I'm going to talk to you about what I did to get the turbos on, and then Jonah's going to walk you through all the other stuff that we've got done to the motor, because me and him, basically, we just went to town on it today and got a lot done. We didn't record anything, but we made some pretty good progress.
Today was a grind day for sure.
Yeah, look at his sweater. Disgusting.
From cleaning.
So to get the turbos on, I basically... let's start with this side. I was going to run that heat shielding. I ended up ripping that stuff off, the stuff that I had originally on the here. It was like a white sleeve from DEI. It was only good for, I think, 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and turbos get much higher than that, so I ripped it all off. I did leave this other shielding back here on the oil lines. This stuff is good for, I think it's like 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. But basically had to do a lot of clearancing to get this to fit. The left side wasn't too bad. I just had to shave this off, so that way the pipe that goes right here fits, and we don't have those on yet because we just painted them. They're hanging up. But yeah, other than that, I think it was pretty... Oh, I'll take that back. This pipe right here, if you're running these turbos, it goes... between the turbos, behind the hot side, and then back here. And then the stainless steel, I'm not sure if you can see that, stainless steel line that you run with the kit basically gets in the way. And so, yeah, good luck with that. That was a lot of fun. But other than that, this side went in. I tested and again, sorry I didn't get it on camera. I tested the wastegate actuators. I put 14 pounds here on from my compressor. And then I could just barely spin the wastegate door, which I'll crack this thing open to show you right here. So you just put 15 pounds on it, and then you just kind of turn it a little bit, and then you know that it's cracked enough and that this thing is adjusted accordingly. So that's how I did that. Show you the other side. I ran this DEI tape too on these wires just to keep them, hopefully it'll last a little bit longer for the next guy.
Looks cool
on this side, yeah, it looks pretty. Looks like a spaceship. On this side, yeah, this side was hard. Okay, so the wastegate actuator arm, not sure if you can see it, but it's basically that long thing down there, was getting like danger close to the oil tree. So I basically had to pull the adjuster all the way to the back as far as I could, and then also push it in a little bit. And again, I tested the actuator, make sure it still works. Everything works good. And then also, I think in the beginning of this video, I said that, you know, hey, I was trimming the factory one. You don't use the factory one. You just pull that one out and then you put this one in. And you run your line, you know, just like this. Now, the nut that goes all the way back there is hard to get to. So what you do is you don't attach this oil line until after you're done mounting the turbo, and then you could attach this whole line because it gives you a lot more space to get to this. And I was able to run the locks here too with no problems, although it took a lot of patience to get those in. So another thing too that I had to clearance on the motor, on this, to get these turbos to fit, took a little bit off of here so that way the nipple wasn't touching. I had to take a little bit off the top of this turbo so it wouldn't be hitting the manifold. And I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. Right. So, yeah, that was a lot of work. Got the turbos on, got them mounted, they fit.
Barely.
Yeah, it was tight. This is definitely not for the faint of heart. All right, Jonah, what else did we do today?
Okay, first thing we did was we scrubbed all these little brackets and mounts and hoses and stuff to throw on the engine. Some of the stuff we scrubbed is already on there, but we got them pretty clean. Here we go.
Pretty.
Took forever. My fingers felt like they were split open. It was not fun. And then we got the injectors on. As soon as we were done with that, we like lube up all the little rubber seals and stuff. And then we put on these oil hoses down here that go to the turbo.
Yeah, oil drain hoses.
Oil drain hoses. Is there anything else? We put on this thing. I don't even know what that is.
Mounted the AC bracket.
Yeah.
For the AC condenser.
Oh, and then the power steering pump mount. We put that on. We're still missing this bolt.
Oh no, this is the AC. This is
AC.
I think this is power steering.
I don't even know. We cleaned the power steering.
Threw the new sensor in. Put this rectifier on here.
The other oil drain thing. And then all these lines up here. And this thing we had to JB weld in there because it was loose. And
yeah, now we're just working on getting all these lines, coolant
connected.
lines, all that stuff connected. We've got some stuff from Z1. We've got the idle air hose kit, and then we've got the PVC hose kit. So we'll be putting those in, and then all the coolant lines we still got to put in. The wastegate actuators, I've got to figure out how to wire up the boost controller, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So I think that wraps it up for this video. See you next time.
See you next time.